at these brothers. Men, there can be no resurrection, men, without there first being death. And what I mean by that is there can be no moving forward toward the new world. There can be no evolution if a person isn't able to delete the old versions of themselves. You know what I'm saying? And I understand this is one of the primary things that keeps us back, everybody back. Because at some point you'll run into this, man. It's like we almost forget. There can be no resurrection without there first being death, man. And I'm saying that because I'm a man that have tried to do it many of times. And when I say I've tried to do it, I'm a man that's tried to take old versions and old elements and old people in an older version of myself to a new world. And it just won't happen, bro. It can't happen. By law, it can't happen. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of us just need to remember, man, that in order to be resurrected into this new version of us, man, there has to be some form of death that takes place. You know what I'm saying? I was talking to one of my partners last night, man. And I say partner, man. This is a brother that I would go to the moon and back for, right? And in my eyes, the brother is just pristine in all areas, man. The brother's physical fitness is on point. The brother's mind is sharp. The brother's knowledge is sharp. The brother's level of consciousness is on 10. And now what he's doing is making a transition from corporate America to, dominating this digital space, social media, YouTube, the whole shebang, man. And him and I were talking, and he was just talking about, the barriers he's facing, the challenges he's facing, and after we talked for a while, man, I was saying, bro, this is the same thing that every man goes through. And once you go through it, it's something you'll never not go through, because it's all about evolving. It's all about, evolving to the next level. He was just explaining how things that he has to do, things that he's supposed to do to move forward. He's having a problem moving forward doing these things. And the brother is very disciplined in all areas of life. And as we were talking, man, I was just reminded of myself, reminded of a number of other brothers I've talked to that are at that stage. And it's like one of those final stages before evolution. And it's really when a man has to go inside and delete the old versions of himself to become anew. You know what I'm saying? You literally have to go inside. Like when I say there has to be a death before resurrection, I literally mean you have to go inside and manually delete issues, delete situations, delete people, delete scenarios, delete vices that can't go forward. It's a man literally going inside and conducting his own funeral, man, of the old version of himself. You know what I'm saying? I was even thinking about myself when me and bro was talking last night, man. Like I don't think I made a video. This is probably my first video in the last 2 weeks, because like even now at this closing out this old chapter of my life, getting ready to start a new chapter. And when I say new chapter, meaning just like life is changing, son graduating from school, all kind of things going on. I said, you know what, man, it's time for me to go back into that shell, man, and delete portions of myself, And I'm gonna tell you this, it's hard, damn near impossible. I don't know. At least for me, it's a challenge to be in that stage of killing the old version of myself and being in a creative state at the same time. Not saying it's impossible, but it's a challenge for me to get behind this camera and be authentic when I'm manually deleting myself on the inside. When I'm manually looking at myself, looking at my daily rituals, looking at where my time is going, looking at where my focus is, and deleting what needs to be gone, and being in a state of let me create and try to speak to my brothers today, man. So I just wanted to remind my brothers of that today, man, because everybody's going to go through it. Everybody's going to go through a period where you create your kingdom. The whole 4 levels of becoming, the whole manifestation process, right? And you get to that edge, man. You get to those vast waters, like I mentioned in A Singular Truth. You know what I'm saying? Or you get to that port like Brother Santiago, and you say, you know what, I know what needs to be done, but I still feel this barrier, man. And I'm telling you, brother, it's that last anchor of self-deletion of the old self. You know what I'm saying? This past Sunday, me and my brothers in the power circle were talking about the rich young ruler, man. And what I was speaking about was every man is the rich young ruler. You know what I'm saying? And like with this period that I'm in my life, man, or just this, what's going on in my life right now, me, building a new version of myself. I read that, man, that verse in I'm not sure where that is again in the Bible. I read that again within the last couple of weeks, man, and I've read that verse probably 20 times, or that passage probably 20 times in my life. The rich young ruler. And y'all are familiar with the story, man. If you're not, it's when the rich young ruler was and it's just pretty much like a successful man had approached the messenger, and his crew was like, hey, you know what? I want to be down with y'all. I want to roll with you and your crew. And the messenger, Jesus, said, hey man, you want to roll with us? You can't be this, you can't be stealing, you can't be robbing, you can't be smoking, all these things. And the brother was like, hey, I don't do none of those things. Like I'm ready to roll with y'all. And then the messenger said, okay, well, if you're ready to roll with us, go get rid of all you got, man, and then come back and get with us. We're going to ride out. And it said the rich young ruler heard the messenger say that and said that he just pretty much lowered his head and walked off because he knew he couldn't get rid of all his things, man. And what I discovered over the last couple of weeks, man, is that like my whole life, every single time I read that, I looked at the rich young ruler as being somebody that was cocky. I said, man, he must have been like some arrogant, cocky dude, man, walking around with his chest up, chest out, walking around with his Cuban links on, walking around with, his gold rings, and he had so much pride. That's what I always thought, man. But for some reason, when I read that within the last couple of weeks, man, I saw it from a different angle. I said, the brother wasn't cocky or prideful or materialistic because he had the gonads. He had the knowledge to even walk up to the messenger and give his spiel and say, hey, I want to roll with y'all. What the rich young ruler was going through, man, was it was a fear. It was a fear because when the messenger said, hey, you got to do all of these things, all these, you got to be an upright man. And he said, I'm walking like that. I'm moving like you say I should move. But when he said you need to get rid of all your things, man, I understood that it was fear that came over the rich young ruler. Because a lot of things that we are attached to, whether it's, again, people, places, things, vices, whatever, a lot of those things have life, we've attached life force to those things. So we say we want to move on to the next level, and we want to move to the next level. But a lot of times, man, we can't get rid of those things that we put life force into. It's not that the rich young ruler didn't know that, hey, you know what, I can get rid of all this and start back over. Like, I'm a hustler. If I want to get it back again, I can get it back again. But a lot of times, man, we attach so much of ourselves, so much of our essence to things in the past that won't allow us to move forward. So when I say there has to be death before resurrection, what I'm saying is you have to manually trim the fat of life. You have to manually go in and get rid of things that won't go to that next level. And I can easily say, man, that I would say that's by far the most hardest thing for mankind to do. That's the most hardest thing for mankind to do, to move forward, man. Because so much energy is I'll just say it like this. That's why I believe as what word should I use? Upright men, as Bible say righteous men, as just solid men, man, I believe we're supposed to love with our hearts, man. But when it comes to us moving forward in life, we really can't attach to anything, man. We really can't. I mean, a person really can't attach to anything if he wants to walk in a certain light. I'm not talking about being good and being I'm saying if a man wants to walk in a certain energy, if a person wants to fall up under that Psalms 91 protection and be, I'm talking about walk like the chosen one, like some people say, right? You really can't attach to anything. You really can't attach to anything, man, because one thing I've learned in life, man, is when the good Lord, right? When the good Lord says, hey, you know what? This mission is complete. Now it's time for you to get on this next mission I have for you. You gotta be a soldier in your mind, man. You have to say, you know what? Okay, it's time for me to ruck up and move on. Like everything I built here, I have to be willing to leave it to move to this next level. And I'm telling you, everybody can't do that so easily, man. You know what I'm saying? So, things we have, man, again, possessions, homes, cars, belts, all that kind of stuff, even people, man, to walk in the highest of frequencies. You have to be willing to leave everything behind, bro. You have to be willing to leave everything behind. And and that's what I felt about the rich young ruler, man. I felt that, it wasn't that he didn't want to move in a certain frequency. He just couldn't let those things that he was attached to go. Those things that he loved, man, that car that he loved to drive, that mansion that he lived in, that baddie that he was, hanging with on a regular basis, that Cuban link, that juke joint, man, where all the baddies hung out and they had the best liquor. He didn't want to leave all that alone, man. He wanted to bring it with him. He was like, no, I can walk in the highest of light, man, and still entertain my old world. And what the messenger was telling him in that scenario, hey, you've done all the work. You're good. Come on. But that world that's hanging on to you, those things you're attached to, they can't come, bro. So get rid of those things and hop on the truck. Let's dip. Said the rich young ruler couldn't do it, man. So all I'm saying is, brothers, a lot of times when we find ourselves, hitting that wall, saying, man, like Santiago, like I can see the world I've created. Santiago was on the port and said, dang it, for the first time in my life, I can see Egypt. I can see it. But he was still contemplating, man, I got these sheep, man. I just met this little young lady in the city. He was contemplating. And he had to say, you know what, man, in order for me to get to Egypt, I gotta go inside and release everything in my vicinity. I gotta release everything, man. So again, brothers, there can be no resurrection without there first being death, man.